Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm talking about Barbarian, which is a horror movie that released earlier this year. I think it came out like a month or two ago, I'm pretty sure. I just watched it like 2 weeks ago, so I wanted to talk about it while it's fresh on my mind. So yeah, enjoy the review. So the movie starts off kind of like your typical just horror movie, you know, woman alone at nighttime is stuck with this random guy that she doesn't know. You know, you've seen it a million times, but it does eventually, you know, turn into something a bit more unique. I don't know if unique's the word to use, but like, it's not the same horror movie that you've seen done a million times where it's rehashing all the same tropes and elements. You know, it's something a bit more than that. So the movie does spend a good bit of time building up before you eventually get to like the scary stuff, but I think that really works to its benefit because it has like, in the start it's just the main lead, this woman Tess, and Bill Skarsgård's character Keith, and you know, you don't know if he's like the villain or the murderer or whatever, and you can like it builds tension the whole time, and I think that really works well. But that really works to its advantage because you don't know when anything is gonna happen, like when everything's about to pop off, and like you don't know what to expect. I certainly didn't anyway. I hadn't seen any of the trailers going into this movie, so I was just going in blind, and it surprised me a lot. Like, I also want to add that this is the first horror movie in a while that's actually like creeped me out a bit and got a few decent scares out of me. Because most of the time, you can see all the jump scares coming like a mile away, and it gets old really fast. But in this movie, I feel like most of the jump scares were done really well, outside of one that, you know, was very obvious that it was coming. And whenever it's not using jump scares, it relies a lot more on like tension, and I think it all works really well. It's all very well done, at least in my opinion. And while I'm on the topic of the creepiness of the movie, the antagonist, or the villain of the film, is genuinely creepy. Like, I don't want to give too much away yet, I'm saving that for the spoiler section of the video, but she is genuinely frightening. And on top of her being frightening, you also kind of feel bad for her for reasons I can't really get into yet, because again, the spoiler section of the video, I'll save that for that. But she is a very interesting villain for the movie that you can kind of not sympathize with, but like feel bad for and kind of like pity in a way. There's a point about halfway through the movie where you switch perspectives from the main character that you've been following the whole time to the character that's played by Justin Long. I think his name is AJ or something like that. And I really like the way that was done. I thought it was a nice shift in tone, especially considering like what happened right before the perspective shift. I thought that was worked really well, and I liked it a lot. And after you switch to his character, you spend a good amount of time with his character before we eventually catch back up with the characters that we were spending the first half of the movie with, which I think is interesting. You really get to know his character and kind of get what he's about, and I'm not gonna say what he's like yet because, you know, saving that for the spoiler section also, but boy do I have a lot to say about him. Georgina Campbell is good in the lead role, playing Tess, I think the character's name was. Yeah, she's good in this movie. I don't really have much else to add about that. She was an enjoyable lead. There's a scene in this movie with these two cops, and they are just unbelievably stupid. They don't know anything. They are terrible at their jobs. Dear Lord, they were awful. Okay, now moving into the spoiler section of the video. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want it to be spoiled, you should probably leave. And if you haven't seen it and you just don't care, yeah, stick around. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to leave. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. Bill Skarsgård is good in this movie, even though he doesn't have a ton of screen time because he dies at some point in the first half. For most of the time he's in the movie, he does a good job of making you think that he could be the villain or the killer, even though he's not, you know, because the first half of the movie is supposed to be kind of like a misdirect. It's kind of like a is he the killer or isn't he the killer type thing. And for most of the time when he's on screen, I feel like he sells it really well, and I liked him in this. Okay, so returning to my earlier point about how the antagonist is someone that you could feel bad for. Yeah, it's because she's a product of just generations of inbreeding. Like, there's a homeless guy in this movie, and in his words, she's a copy of a copy of a copy. And, you know, it's not really her fault that she's the way she is, so you do kind of feel bad for her. But at the same time, she is murdering people, so yeah, it's just kind of a sad situation altogether. Also, just wanted to add that AJ, Justin Long's character, he got what was coming to him. Because there's a scene, okay, throughout the movie, he's dealing with, I don't even know if I can say that on YouTube without getting absolutely nuked. He has allegations against him of doing some bad things to a woman, is how I'm going to put it. And throughout the whole movie, you kind of follow him dealing with the repercussions of that. And, you know, it's made pretty clear that he's not a good guy. And then at the end, when he's, like, running away from the antagonist with the main character, Tess, he tries to save himself and throws her off of a building. She survives and he ends up dying, thank God, but yeah, he's just the worst person ever. He sucks. Justin Long plays him well, though, so there's that. And while I'm talking about AJ and the antagonist, there's a scene in this movie where she tries to breastfeed him. I'm not making that up. That is a real thing that happened in this movie, because she thinks he's his child, or she wants him to be. Yeah, I didn't need to see that at any point in my life. That's up in the old noodle now, and it's probably not going away anytime soon, so thanks for that. Yeah, so I think that about covers all the topics I wanted to speak about with this movie. For a score, I'd probably give it around an 8 out of 10, somewhere in there. For my final thoughts, it's a really good movie. It's one of the best horror movies I've seen in recent years, and it's probably in my top 10 movies of this year. I thought it was a really solid horror movie through and through. That's all for today's review. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want, and that's about all I've got for today. See ya.